Hi Virgo, welcome to November 2024. So I'm still under the weather, getting better, but just physically it's taking a minute to recover. So here we are, still land of the voiceovers, and you're looking at a seascape instead of your Kakashi costume because I literally don't feel well enough to do that right now. But this information is important, so if you're watching this on Patreon, you are seeing it without the costume, and you're probably looking at a beautiful seascape that I filmed the other day to use for the podcast. Okay, so let's just get the astrology stuff out there. Let's talk about November because there's so much important stuff going on, and a lot of it has to do with the ruler of your sign. Let's get into it. On the 2nd, Mercury moved into Sagittarius. Now, Mercury in Sagittarius for you, it shifts your focus to taking care of your home, taking care of your loved ones, very cozy vibes, but there is a need underneath that, right? The overarching need is like, I want to be around friends and family. I want to spruce things up. I want to make things nice, right? But there is a deeper need here, and it's fueled by a sort of melancholy. You find yourself, Mercury in Sagittarius makes you lonely. And from the 2nd until the 25th, this may really play on you. And then at the end of November, towards the end of November, Mercury will go retrograde. So your ruler will go retrograde in Sagittarius. Now, at the same time, while this is happening, while this transit into Sagittarius and this period of melancholy, then this pulling back that happens on the 25th, while this is happening, across from Sagittarius, Jupiter is retrograde in Gemini. Why is that important? Because Gemini is also ruled by your planet, which it's opposing right now, okay? So Gemini and Sagittarius are opposite from each other. Jupiter is a ruler of Sagittarius. Jupiter is opposite Sagittarius. Mercury is the ruler of Gemini. Mercury is opposite Gemini. So, you know that very Libra ability to see both sides of a situation? You right now are literally looking from your vantage point and from the vantage point of anyone that you might be involved with or that anyone you might even like. For some, you're looking from the vantage point of a coworker, a family member, or someone that you've been at odds with. But what you're realizing from being able to see these different perspectives, and in some cases very extreme perspectives, what you're working out to yourself is whether or not this connection, this work relationship, this situationship, whatever it is, does it have any long-term potential? Does this thing have any legs for real? And potential for you is it's a sticky concept because you can create the potential in people, and you know this. And I think that's why it was so important for me to choose Kakashi for your character. Maybe I'll just use stills of Kakashi, that might be better. So what's the backstory with Kakashi? He's an instructor. He's probably one of the most beloved anime characters, one of the most crushed on anime characters in the manga universe. And he's a teacher. His job is to see the potential in you before you realize that it's there. And so it's very fitting for you. And he is technically a Virgo from the details of the show as well. And it's fitting because he's so cool. He's so good at what he does. He has a very painful backstory. Involves a friend, that he thinks passes away, a girl that he saves that was the love of his friend's life, the one that he thought passed away. It's sad, it's dramatic, it's epic. And yet what he does presently for a living is basically teach very young children how to tap into their power and how to excel, how to become, the best versions of themselves, the best warriors they can, how to tap completely into their potential. Now, because you very much embody this nature, because you can look at someone and if you're looking at them with love, you can see an enormous amount of potential in them. it's not that you turn off your critical eye, you just switch it from criticism to potentiality. But when you don't like someone, when someone rubs you the wrong way, when you just are turned off by someone, then instead of potentiality, you will switch on the criticism instead. So instead of why will this person succeed or what does this person have within them that makes them a success, you instead see why this thing will fail, why this person will fail. So, only you know what makes you turn on the one eye as opposed to the other. Now, this is also very fitting because Kakashi has one normal eye and he has the Sharingan in the other eye, which is amazingly cool. And it's, they're used for different things. And so in the same way, you are the only one that really understands or decides, more importantly, that decides which one of those eyes that you see people through. And it might surprise you that as you look at people again, that people that you have until now looked at with love, now you're looking at them from a much cooler perspective. Your feelings have cooled, perhaps without you noticing. Okay? So, one of the reasons when you look into this deeply around mid-month, you're like, really? My feelings have cooled? Like, what happened? Like, I thought I was really into this person, or I thought I was really into this job, or I thought, I thought I was happy. And when you look deeply into things, what you find almost immediately, as if you've just been hiding it from yourself this whole time, what you find immediately is that there have been some good moments, but really they've been so few and far between, and the ratio of good to devastatingly painful moments, I mean, it just hits you really hard, the imbalance there. And it also makes you wonder, why haven't you noticed before? Why haven't you been thinking about this? Where have your critical skills been this whole time? Where's that pragmatic eye been? Have you been looking at this person, this situation, this opportunity with so much love that you've actually just foregone the realization that's been staring you in the face this whole time that this person is not good for you, or that the good moments or the highs that you have with this person in no way make up for how many lows they also create? This hits you like a ton of bricks, okay? You really didn't realize that you were looking at them the wrong way, okay? Now, one of the things that hits you hardest when you start looking at them through that Sharingan eye is that you don't have a lot of commonality with them. It's as if your commonality was based on some fantasy version of you. It's weird with you guys because you can feign commonality with just about anybody because you're smart and you have all these details about stuff. So, like, you can be pretty much anybody. So if someone's like really into like race cars, you're like, oh yeah, well, I know this and this and this about F1. Or if someone's really into horses, or someone is like, I don't know, they got a Christmas tree farm, you like have some tidbit of knowledge. It's like can feign a commonality or familiarity and be like, oh yeah, aren't they making a lot of money selling trees these days? Like, I know, like in southern Germany, it's a big like you have enough under your belt that you can basically feign that sort of familiarity with anybody. But have you duped yourself into something and are just waking up from it and realizing that you've been playing along with somebody this whole time who genuinely thinks that you guys have a lot in common, whereas that's just a fucking role you've been playing to get them to perhaps reach their highest potential or maybe just be a little bit better? And now it's as if you woke up from some kind of trance and you're thinking, why should I expend all this energy hoping that somebody else gets their shit together, or hoping this business partner gets their shit together, or why should I not make a noise about getting paid yet and just wish that this company gets their shit together? Like, no. I am not being treated appropriately. However, there's very little blame to go around from the very beginning of the month with Mercury and Sag. Part of that melancholia that I'm talking about is because you're well aware that this is on you. You decided to look at them through the eyes of love instead of through the eyes of pragmatism, and that's okay. But I think it's shocking to you when you really deep it how skewed your vision gets because of that. So, what does that mean? Should I not look at people through the eyes of love? I think you should look at people through both. Let me get the binoculars out for that binocular vision. I think you have to look at people through both. And I think you very distinctly, there's a distinct difference between the way you choose to look at people. You decide. And then you become a victim of that decision, because once that decision's made, it's like you can't change focus now. Now you can't look at them any other way. It's like that other reality, even though it's very real, it exists. You can't superimpose it on what you think of them already. It hurts your heart. It makes you feel disloyal. It makes you feel like you're not being kind to them. People can be your friends and your loved ones and people you like and still have flaws. Or you don't realize that you're completely done with people until you're honest about it, you're honest with yourself, and you realize you've just been criticizing them nonstop for God knows how long because you just don't fucking like them anymore. So whenever I meet someone who's like, oh, I'm with a Virgo and they're so critical of me, they don't like you. They don't like you. If they liked you, they would eat half the shit that they're saying out loud to you. You would. Sorry, I don't mean to talk about you like you're not here. One second, I'm just going to drink something. Today it happens to be a mango flavored Haritos. Oh God, it's so good. Okay. Now, when you accept culpability, however much there is here, responsibility, culpability, whatever you want to call it, once you accept it, once you accept your part in things, okay? Now the next question that opens up, and it's very important now. Once we're all squared away of like whose fault was what, and I guess I was seeing something that wasn't really there, or maybe I've been too, that whatever it is, once you separate it out, and the blame and shame is out of the way, mid-month you have a really important question to ask yourself, especially if you're in a long-term relationship, in a marriage, in a serious something, okay? Are you going to reconcile or are you going to separate? Once you figure that out mid-month, you're golden after that, because then the next step from there is that you put new rules in place. Whether you reconcile or you separate, the rules have to change. Again, another reason why that melancholy is swarming around you. It's not because good things aren't coming. It's not your natural instincts telling you, ooh, something bad is approaching. Not at all. It's the sorrow that comes with loss, even if that loss is really necessary and important, and even if that loss sets you free. Okay, so the example I can give you is my friend Carolina's a Virgo, and she really needed a new phone, but she just didn't want to give up her old phone. And I just didn't understand what the attachment was to the old phone, but she was like physically attached to the old phone because it had given her so much, and it was such a part of her life that she felt bad abandoning it. Right? So there is a point at which you realize, like, I've got to give this phone up, even though it was wonderful to me, because I just need more capacity. I need more RAM. I need more memory. And it's not a reflection on your relationship with that phone, or how long you had it, or how good it was to you, or how good the memories were that were made in that time period. It's not a reflection on any of that. It's just time to move forward. So a lot of that melancholy has to do with the realization that, yes, time moves forward, and we move forward with time. And that often means loss. But in your particular case, it's a loss that creates so much joy later on, because it's a loss that brings you closer to yourself. It's the separation from something that was holding and tying you down, whether you realized it or not. By mid-November, you know it, you feel it in your bones, you can't take it anymore. It's a very simple conversation. There's not a lot of fighting, there's not a lot of back and forth. It's simply, this is what we have to do. My feelings are not here anymore. And for those of you as Virgos who are watching this and you're thinking to yourself, I don't have the guts to do that, can I just tell you, the person that you're with already knows that you can't stand them. They have been picking up on you not being able to stand them for far longer than you realized it. You're just now realizing what's happening. They've known for months. And they're just hoping that you won't catch on to the fact that you don't like them anymore. They can already tell from the way you are, from your tone of voice. I can tell from looking at a Virgo I'm in love with if they're mad at me about something, if something has changed, if they've had a conversation I'm not privy to. It's really easy to read, you guys, if someone is actually observing. Okay, so if you're thinking, no, I need to stick around because of X, Y, Z, list out the reasons that you feel like obligation is more necessary than embracing joy. It's okay. But none of them will justify dragging yourself and through someone else and someone else through something disingenuous. Then nothing good will come of you trying to prolong a situation, whether out of obligation, duty, practicality, whatever it is. Nothing good will come out of a situation that you are trying to drag yourself and somebody else through for the name of some obligation or commitment. Because you're making yourself miserable, you're making the other person miserable, and the other person's not going to let go of you no matter what. I think we know that. I think that's what we know about Virgos to begin with, right? But this isn't about them anymore. Once you take that stock of your eyes and you realize what eye you're looking at them through, you just don't see things the same way. Once you put that person back into general population and you're looking at them as you would look at anybody else, the first thing that becomes clear to you is that they are not worthy of you. Now, you can do whatever you want with that. But that realization is something that comes over you in November, and you've got to be honest with yourself about it. Don't try to hide from it, because it'll just come up over and over again. Different scenarios, different situations. It's not going to let you go until you face it and realize it. Okay. Now, for those of you who are in a committed relationship and you're like, things are going really well, this is one of those time periods where you do get to switch things around and look at them with enormous amounts of love and see the potentiality in them and help them with that potential and really raise both of you up together in this wonderful spiral of appreciation and collaboration and admiration. It's beautiful. It can be a really, really beautiful time. But those of you who are on that track, you figured this out a couple of months ago already. You already know this person is the person for you, and you feel genuinely, like doing stuff for them, like being there for them. Sharing yourself with them is in no way a burden to you. So this doesn't apply to you. Now, if you're single, I have some notes. It's important that you keep your focus very much on the people around you who make your everyday life a joy and important and connected. If you stray outside of taking care of your people, you may find that you end up taking somebody in like a stray animal, and they will behave like a stray. It's a really sensitive time for you, so it's really easy to take in someone just because you feel sorry for them. It's that whole it's getting cold thing that Virgos do. I would suggest you not do it, but then again, you kind of seem to do it every year. Okay, we're just going to leave that alone. Let's move on. Let's talk about a little about career and money, and then we're going to talk about Venus in Capricorn and mental and physical wellness in the extended, where you'll be able to see the cards as well. So, in terms of career and money, on the 15th, we have Saturn, which is sitting across from you in Pisces going direct. Now, what that means for you is one, there's some viable opportunities, good ones coming up. But also, it's a time where you can catch up on some moments that you feel like slipped through your hands because of yourself, because you fucked it up somehow. So, it's a time to play makeup on a couple of things, which is, there's something exciting about that redemptive vibe, right? Like you get another chance at something, you get to do it right, you harbor something, remember something where you feel like you fucked up, and then chance comes back around. It's so satisfying to be able to slam dunk that. So there's a lot of that going on mid-month after Saturn goes direct. You're also thinking a lot about money because of that Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. You're thinking about your career. You're thinking about whether or not, this is a career that you can actually make some real money at as you get older. It's a humbling conversation to have with yourself, not the most pleasant, but Jupiter retrograde has you thinking that way, while Saturn direct has you facing, like I said, really like viable, realistic, great opportunities that could very much elevate your station in life. So between the two, I think that it's safe to say that career and money wise, the focus is long term. The focus is on, let's get you in an emotionally stable place and happy with the people around you, and then ask the hard-hitting questions about, what does comfort long term for the next 10 years look like? What do you need to do looking from that moment 10 years from now backward? What do you need to get to that person that you see having that comfortable, peaceful life 10 years from now? What do you have to start doing now to ensure that person is where you see them and want yourself to be? I think people around you are a lot more aware of what makes you happy than you are. I think you take, especially when we're talking about career and money and what you should choose as a profession or what you should pursue, I think you're notoriously private, and perhaps that gives people the impression that you know yourself very well, but I don't think that's the case at all. I think you're on the other side of the spectrum from that. I think Pisces know themselves very well, and I think that there is a sort of wall between you and your subconscious. But you're very transparent to others, which you may not like hearing, but it works really well when it's your friends and family and they love you and they can see very clearly, especially when it comes to career, money, profession, they can see very clearly what you're good at, what you love to do, what gives you energy, and could probably, if asked, give you really, really good advice about what you should pursue, because it may actually be time to pursue something different. If you're feeling like you're in a dead-end place, talk to your friends and family or talk to somebody younger than you. Another thing that happens with Virgos is that you get stuck. You do. Maybe it's an earth sign thing, but I know girls who are Virgos who are still doing their makeup like it's 2018. Like, that's the only way I know how to say it. You have to move with the times, and I know it's hard for you. I know it's hard for you, but you're really great at data crunching. You're really great in getting the info together and crunching it down and understanding it. So just start getting your info from new sources. Talk to the younger members of your family, talk to the kids, talk to teenagers, talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to the people that see you and know you every day, and ask them quite bluntly what they think that you should do. And every one of them is going to go, you're really good at so and so. And I think, and you really have fun when you do such and such. And the funny thing is, they may mention like 30 things, bitch, because you're really good at a lot of things. But which one makes you feel good? Which one really suits you? Which one creates that joy within you that replaces the need to see this almost false, fantastical level, hysterical level of potential in others? What could you do that would bring so much energy into your life that you genuinely wouldn't need to put on a sort of show between you and other people, where you bounce this potential around between you, and half the time it gets used up pretending to be a character you're not, and half the time it gets used up making pretend that the other person is a character they're not? How about if you actually use this sublime energy, this subtle energy, how about if you pushed it towards something real, something that you're excited about, but has real potentiality, can be produced? What happens then? There's a shift happening this winter, whether you bring someone into your bed to keep it warm or not. There's a shift happening where you are motivated to own yourself and own your surroundings and really redraw the map when it comes to how people are allowed to treat you moving into the future. There's a lot of cleaning house going on, and there's a lot of forgiveness that comes with cleaning house as you admit to yourself how much you have taken, and you forgive yourself, and you have some tough conversations with yourself about how you're not meant to suffer, and that you've suffered perhaps too much because you doggedly held on to the notion of something or someone, again, because you thought that was the right thing to do. And it's counterintuitive for you, and it's gonna take a little while for you to adjust to the fact that what Pluto moving into Aquarius wants from you isn't the right thing to do. It wants you to do what's good for you. And what I've been driving at, subtly and not so subtly at times in this reading, is that I don't think you know. And that's okay. I mean, there's no one that you should hear this from that would like trigger you less than a Gemini, because if you don't know, we don't know anything. If you don't know what makes you happy, we don't know a fucking thing about anything. And we don't really, not really. I don't really know anything until someone asks me a question and like presses a button in my head, and then all this like information comes out. I don't know where it's coming from. But you guys don't know what makes you happy. You know how to make other people happy. Because who doesn't like someone who sees just all this potential in you? Who doesn't want to be adored by a Virgo? But what you're doing right now is you're reaping, the harvest of planting those seeds in people that didn't deserve them, and whose potentiality never lived up to their actuality. And how you need to clean house of those people, those ideas, those relationships, and establish some new fences, some new rules, and again, it starts with forgiving yourself and some new plans for the future, something exciting. Don't get stuck. Don't get stuck because the weather's getting colder, or it's getting darker sooner, or Libra season's over and the parties are dying down. Don't get stuck. Don't especially fall into the trap of thinking that just because you saw the potential in something or someone and it turned out not to be there, don't for a second internalize that into a failure of your own. You haven't failed at anything. Learning, changing your mind, saving yourself, salvaging what you can to start again, none of that is failure. If you ask me, 12th houser here, that's about as successful as a person can get. In the I Ching, it says that mastery is very impressive. But the only thing more impressive than mastery is a comeback. Because mastery can, to some extent, be attributed to luck. The person just has it. They just got it. But when they lose it and they get it back, bitch, yeah, that belies something else. That's not just about luck. It's not about circumstance. It's not about natural given talent. It's about grit. It's about determination. It's integrity. It's value. It's strength. And as much as it may hurt right now that things are changing, I think you come out of this all roses, and you deserve to. It's just, you're in that home stretch, and it's very easy to turn this on yourself. Oh, it's so easy, and so many of you perhaps have already started the blame game, but please, please, please do not do it. It's not meant for that at all. Nothing good will come of it, and most importantly, it's just not true. You loving people is not a bad thing. You seeing the best in them and wanting the best for them is not a bad thing. And them not being able to live up to it is not your fault. And one day them having to go because they couldn't live up to it is also not your fault. You don't get to really move forward until you believe that. But once you let yourself forgive yourself, you're going to forgive them too. And a lot of you who can't forgive yourself, it's because you can't forgive that other person for never living up to your expectations. There is no forgiveness of self without the forgiveness of the other. Because there is no other, baby. There is no spoon, sweetheart, remember? I love you. All right, we're going to look at some cards, okay? That's what's coming up next, because we have a lot to talk about. We got to talk about Venus and Capricorn. We got to talk about mental health, physical health. It's all good. I love you. I've missed you. I'll see you. I'll see you in a few weeks, and I'll see you in the extended. Love you. Oh, we're putting together a get-together in the spring in Oakland. I will leave an email address below so you can get early tickets, because I think it's going to sell out like really fast. Okay, love you. Bye. Hi, Virgo. Welcome to your extended. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. Of course, we're talking about career and money. We're talking about mental health, wellness, all of that. But we're also letting these cards fall where they may and going through what we know of these symbols and how your psychology reacts with them. Okay. So Jungian Tarot is what I'm trying to say. The Emperor and the King of Wands. All right. Bottom of the deck is that Scorpio energy. So right off the bat, you have Mars now in a position of fire. Mars has gone, if you may remember, from Cancer into Aries. From Cancer into Leo. Now, obviously, this is firing you up, but I think it's firing you up in a way that is most unexpected. Usually, and this is not a dig, usually you get fired up and then because you're logical, because you are a cool person, you will let things cool down. You will look at the bigger picture. You will assess the far-reaching implications of any choice that you may make. And usually you will subdue yourself in the moment and think more of the long term, right? You don't want to be the one that steals from yourself. You don't want your emotions getting the best of you and therefore sabotaging a future that you have envisioned for yourself. And that vision is deeply important to you. And some would say, including myself, that it's that vision that actually sustains you through difficult times, but also just through times where physically, perhaps, we look at you and wonder, where are you getting the energy for this? How are you working such long days? How are you managing 3 or 4 different aspects of your life so masterfully, and they all require you to physically be present or doing something, and you don't skip a beat. So you have this ability to tap into a well that's empty and continue to do the work and continue to put in the energy. And sometimes, most of the time, that looks like subduing yourself, keeping your nose to the grindstone, and keep going. Mars moves into Leo. Venus is now, as of the 11th, in Capricorn. And tomorrow, Saturn will station direct across from you in Pisces. Uncharacteristically, it's no longer time to wait. You have waited out. Lest I remind you once again that there was a time when Virgo and Libra were one sign. You have waited out. You have considered your options. In some cases, you have been considering your options for years. And yet you have waited, you have been patient, you have been loyal. But the time has come now for something big to be decided and for things to be moved on quickly. And when it's time to move, even though you may sit still for a long time, when it's time to move, you move quickly. This move, it feels to me will coincide with Pluto moving into Aquarius and leaving Capricorn.